Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I hope everyone is having an amazing day today. I know I am. I'm always grateful, even though I'm not in a studio and we're doing this through Zoom. I am always grateful for days like this because I get to sit down and be inspired by some of the most amazing individuals I've ever met my whole freaking life. And I'm starting to live a long time. I hit 60 in a few days. That's amazing, right? I'm going to be 60. So I'm very grateful because I've got some friends that didn't make it to 60. So I'm happy and grateful to be alive. Hey, today we got an incredible guest with us. We've got a gentleman by the name of Gerald Jones. Gerald is actually in long-term recovery. He suffered with alcoholism for about 10 and a half years. And it's crazy to say because being sober has added value to his life. And I believe you guys have heard us talk about this. So really today our topics is going to be the effects that alcohol has in your life in the negative way, but also in a positive way. And we're going to explain what that means today by listening to Gerald share his story. So Gerald, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us. Just, man, I just appreciate you so much for doing this.
Thank you. I want to thank you for the invite and just let me put my story out there. And that helps. It helps me
Absolutely.
as well.
Well, yeah, right. It's therapy for all of us. It very is therapeutic. And before I forget, before we move on, I want to say thank you to a beautiful friend of mine, Nicole Costello, who actually introduced Gerald and I. So, Nicole, thank you, my dear. Thank you so much for making this connection. You are always out there thinking of other people and seeing how you can help them. So, thank you for this connection because I believe Gerald and I, man, we've been friends for 20 years already.
Yeah, yeah. I also want to thank you, Nicole. I really appreciate it. You're a fantastic coach. And I just want you to know that. And like I said, thank you again. You're a beautiful soul. Thank you.
Yes, she is the White Witch. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, Gerald, my heavens, you and I spoke a couple weeks ago because I usually like to speak with my guests before I invite them on the show. And holy cow, brother, you've lived a hell of a life and 10 and a half years clean. However, wasn't you in alcoholism a lot longer than the 10 and a half years?
Oh yeah. I started drinking like at the age of what, nine, 10.
Wow.
That was just I don't know what you call it at that age. It was just a thing, you know. But as I grew older, alcohol grew with me, and then as I became a teenager, a young adolescent, now I'm using alcohol for the wrong reasons. Yeah.
Was it, when you started drinking at such a young age, was it because of like family life or trauma that was going on in your life? Because we've said many times on this show, addiction doesn't discriminate, right? It doesn't care how you were brought up, really. You could be brought up in a loving home. Um, some of our guests have. Some of our guests have grown up in very religious homes. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter whether you believe in God or not. It affects everyone.
Yeah.
So is
Well,
that what was going on with you?
what that wasn't, I didn't really experience any trauma at that young of an age.
Okay.
That didn't come till later on. But what it was, the neighborhood I lived in, I lived in a pretty mixed neighborhood, and some of my friends, um, their parents, I don't know if they were alcoholics or not or whatever, but they always had drink around, liquor, beer, or whatever. So we used to sneak into the liquor cabinets and drink beer, uh, have shots. One time we even found a stash of weed, and we rolled that up. And I'm talking about at 9 years old. And so yeah, I think that's how it started. Just some of the friends that I hung around, by their parents. Like I said, I don't know if they were uh, alcoholics or abused alcohol. I don't know. I was just too young to understand it at the time. So
Yeah.
all I know is we used to raid the liquor and beer and stash cabinets.
Yeah, the stash cabinets,
Yeah.
and we did the same thing, right? My mom wasn't really a drinker. My dad drank, and they would have friends come over. And I mean, back in the early 70s and that, the Boone's Farm wine was real popular, and
Yeah.
it tasted fairly good. And I
Right.
remember times I couldn't wait. I think there were a few times I actually pretended I had a cough just so my mom would give me the cough syrup so the bottle would get empty, so I could get the bottle and go downstairs and pour wine in the cough syrup bottle and take it to junior high with me. So, during between classes would take a sip, and which was kind of crazy. And I mean, we're kids, right? We don't think
Yep.
right. Our brains aren't quite developed, but it was a lot of fun for us.
It was fun.
However, none of us, and I'm sure this happened to you too, none of us ever thought that it would have taken us down a darker road.
I didn't see it coming. Like I said, I didn't even know the difference of being drunk or sober at the time. I'm drinking cans of beer and shots of liquor, and I'm still feeling normal at 9 years old. I don't. I don't recall having slurred speech. I don't recall being, where I couldn't walk or nothing like that because I was normal. And I guess my mother, my mom and dad, they couldn't tell neither. So because they never said anything. So, but then again, I did used to kind of try to stay away from them though. So that
Yeah.
could be another reason they didn't
Yeah.
notice.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, but again, though, even at 9 years old, I think our youngest guest that we had, or one of the youngest that started, a friend of mine, Jim Carroll, who was on our show, he
Okay.
started drinking at age 5, and he was a full-blown alcoholic by junior high, and he admitted it on the show. He's like, "I was a full-blown alcoholic by junior high school." So you're thinking by 12, 11 years old, you're already a full-time
Yeah.
drinker. That's a
Yeah.
lot of years to
Yeah.
be flipping drinking, and such a
Man.
young age while your body's still developing, and he's a very intelligent man. I mean, he still went to school, and he still carried, like, I think, like a 3.8 or 3.9 grade point average, and never had issues. However, as soon as school was done, man, he was putting the liquor away.
Yeah. Hey, just from my experiences and my story, um, yeah, I was pretty much 11, 12 years old. I was pretty much full blown alcoholic and no one knew it. I didn't understand it. That was when I turned 12, my sister was murdered. And when she was murdered, that really like changed me in a lot of ways. I actually held myself responsible for her death because she had wanted me to babysit the night she got killed. At first, I told her no, because I had plans that Saturday morning, to go skating with some friends. But then she offered more money, $20. In 1980, $20 was a lot of money, especially to go skating with. I
Yeah.
could have did a lot with that. Video games, beer. Yeah. So when she got murdered, it also changed the dynamics of my household. It went from just me, my mom, and my brother, who was 5 years older than me. So he was 16, 17 at the time, to me, my mom, my brother, my three nephews, and my niece. And my youngest nephew he hadn't even turned 1 year old yet. So that changed my life. That changed me from being an average young, teenager doing everything the teenagers do, um, getting involved with sports because I'm a boxer. At that time, I was boxing and everything, but I had to give all that up because, like I said, my responsibilities changed. Now I have responsibilities of a big brother, so I have to I have to babysit, cook, clean, and you know, all the responsibilities of an adult. You know, so that pushed me in there. Hold on, come in. I'm sorry. I'm on a Zoom meeting right now. Your mom should be in there. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
But yeah, yeah, so that changed the whole dynamics of my childhood. And with that change came more drinking because now I felt a lot was being taken away from me. I felt like, you know, a lot of my freedom was being taken away. Um, a lot of my childhood was being taken away. And the sad part about this whole thing is there were kids in my situation, in my same situation, but it wasn't by, you know, someone in their family getting murdered. It was just because their parents might not have cared. They didn't have that discipline. They lacked that discipline, you know, to do whatever and to be normal teenagers. You know,
Yeah,
only thing they knew was the streets. So those were the type of kids I hung around, you know, that drink and smoke weed at an early age. And that's what we did, you know. Like I said, at first I was just doing it just to be doing it, but then I was doing it to numb the pain that I was feeling, you know, to
yeah.
deal with the resentments that I was feeling,
I
to
was
deal
just
with
gonna say
guilt.
that. Sounded like you had some resentment there, which I could understand why, right? I mean, you got to grieve the loss of your sister and then also having a part of your life stripped away from you in two ways, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, big time. You know, like I said, I could have. I don't know, you know, but you know, I was a really good boxer. You know, I could have made something of myself in that way. I probably could have made something of myself as far as academics was concerned, you know, but alcohol just like I said, you know, the damage it done to me, it had me believing that no one cared, so why should I? You know, it had me believing that this is life, this is the way it is, and this is how you're going to deal with it. You don't have any other choice. That's how alcohol, that's the stronghold alcohol had on me because I didn't know. I didn't know nothing about depression. I'm too young to understand what it is.
right.
Yeah, so I believe I was depressed at a young age and just didn't know it. And that was through the trauma of my sister getting killed. And then, like I said, you know, as time went on in life, you know, getting older, becoming a teenager, um, I lived in the inner city, you know, which was underserved. So a lot of drugs came through in the late 80s, 80, 86, 87. You know, things like that started happening. So now I'm starting to see things, you know, as a teenager. I'm seeing domestic violence where kid, you know, where people are getting killed. I'm seeing, you know, murders are happening, you know, of friends, you know, just being out, you know, in the streets selling drugs or whatever. You know, we weren't nothing but 17, 18 years old, you know, so a lot of that, you know, started having an effect on me too. So yeah, you know, the trauma, the decontextualized trauma doesn't go away. I mean, it just seems like it's, and when you're drinking, you can't drink it away. It doesn't go away by drinking. It gets worse. You know, you set yourself up for more things than just alcohol. You know, you start making bad decisions, and you know, some of the things you choose to do just it's not good. You know, it's
You
all
know,
bad.
and with you saying that, Gerald, I I believe, and again, this is just my belief. It gets to the point really we do start making the bad choices, and I don't feel like it's really us, right? Because it is the substance that we're on, whether it's drugs or alcohol or eating or whatever, right? It kind of consumes our life, and we're already feeling crappy about ourselves,
Right.
right? So how could we think positive? How could we think there's something else out there at the time? And then the more we fog our brain with substances, the worse it gets, because now we literally start looking at life through a straw, where we just see something tiny right in front of us. I mean, our whole outlook on life is completely taken away from us. It's gone.
That's so true. That's wow. I mean, and uh, that's what you experience. I mean, like you said, whole outlook on life is just taken away from you because you don't know nothing else. You don't know anything else, you know. And if
Yeah.
there were people there to teach you or to show you, you wasn't trying to hear them. You wasn't listening to that. Nah, that ain't what's helping me cope right now. You
Yeah.
know, if somebody try to tell you something, what they're saying, that's not helping me cope with life. That's not helping me cope with this pain, you know. And what do you care anyway? You know, you don't
Yeah.
care if you
Right.
can care, you know, that was my thinking, you know. And wow, I mean, then you go off, I mean, it the alcohol abuse, like I said, it branches off into so many other things because of your decision making. I mean, then you actually get hooked on other things, whether it be drugs, sex, whatever it is, you know, you do it, you know. Um, and it's something that, like I said, it's something that is very cunning and baffling because it definitely would have you believing
Yeah.
it'll have you believing that this is the answer to all your problems. And when you wake up,
Even
everything will be gone.
even
Just
though
come back to
you wake up the next morning and you realize all it's done is cause more problems. So you go through and you do it again to wake up and realize it's caused even more problems. And we get stuck in that cycle.
yeah,
And it's I don't know, I guess it's like flushing toilet paper down the toilet, I guess. You
right,
get in that little vortex, right? And
right,
it doesn't matter what you do, it just seems like it takes you further. Because a lot of people said that the first time they took a drink of alcohol, they were like, "Oh my hell, all my problems are solved, right? I don't have to feel the feelings that I'm feeling." Or the first time they did a line of coke. I mean, that's what it was for me. First time I did a line of coke, I was like, "I am freaking in love." I mean, this stuff is
right,
amazing, right? And other people it's heroin or opioids or whatever it may be. However, every guest that I have interviewed says they go back and do it again, and that feeling's gone. You know, you don't get that same feeling, right? And so you're chasing it. You're chasing it to get that first initial feeling. And I was telling a guest that we had on our show earlier, I'm like, it's like the first time you had sex, right? It's like, oh my hell, this is wonderful,
right,
you know. And then it's not. You don't ever have that same feeling again.
right,
And it's the same when it comes to the drugs and alcohol, I believe,
right.
or other addictions. It's the same with all addictions.
Yeah, you're chasing that ghost. You're chasing something that you're never going to catch, you know. So, and that's the baffling part about it. You know, you wondering like, why? Why can't I? You know, but then it's like you might be going through something and you might get another feeling. It might not be that same feeling that you had when you first did it, but it's that other feeling that, okay, yeah, you know, I'm close.
Yeah,
I'm not there, but I'm close. I got close to it. So let me keep, yeah, that, I mean, that's just how it is.
yeah, yeah. You know what? And I like that you said, Gerald, that you just thought that's how life was. And it brought back an interview I did a long time ago with a gentleman by the name of Robert.
Uh-huh.
Grew up in LA, grew up in the gangs. I mean, at a young age, like you, you know, he's doing drugs and drinking with his parents. And it literally was the gang life. And when he got sent to prison, he's like, I'm in the big leagues now, right?
Yep.
He's the man, because you had to serve time to really show your stature of where you're at inside the game.
Right.
And he goes, Al, I just thought this is how everyone lived their life. He didn't look outside the box because he stayed inside that box, because
Yep.
that's what he knew. And that happens to so many of us.
Yeah. If that's all you know, that's all you're gonna do. You know, when you're not exposed to anything else different, when you don't have that opportunity to look at things in a different way and look at how things could be better when everything around you is so messed up, and you just like, this is normal, but it's really not,
Right.
until you are actually shown what's normal and what's not. And sometimes some people never get the opportunity to know. They never know, because everything they've ever been around or grew into was dysfunctional. Sometimes you just grow up in a dysfunctional environment, and you think dysfunctional is normal and you think it's the way to be, but it's not. All it is a way to early death or prison. I went to prison myself, and I went for a crime I didn't even commit. But you know what? I always say it was a reason for that, because for the 18 months I was in prison, those were 18 months where I didn't drink. I couldn't drink, and I didn't smoke weed because I was too focused on trying to get out. And from what I was, when you're in prison, they you can get access to anything on the streets, but there are also things where it's like, man, you don't want to mess with that stuff, because if you do get a chance to get out early, they're gonna drug test you. So
Yeah.
you don't want to mess that up. So I stayed away from that. But yeah, so that 18 months where I was alcohol free, I think that planted the seed in me to know that I could quit what if I wanted to. So
So,
yeah,
so was that your seed? Is that when you dropped the shovel, or did you get out and start realizing, man, where's my life going to go now? And I mean, you just lost 18 months of it. That's a long time,
yeah, that's a
right?
long time.
And
That
I would think the resentment would be even stronger too.
yes, it was, because it was for a crime I didn't commit. I actually saved people's lives. I was in a house fire. The house caught on fire. One night, it was if you don't mind me sharing
No,
this
go
story.
for it.
It was a Memorial Day, 1997, or should I say 96? Memorial Day 96. Went to a cookout. Dating a young lady. Went to a cookout. Was drinking, of course. Stayed there, watched a couple movies and all that. Went to bed. Woke up in the middle of the night by glass shattering. I get out the bed. I crack open the door because I don't know what's going on. I don't know if somebody's breaking in or what. I don't know what's going on. So I'm being cautious, and with me, I'm like, if somebody in here, we're gonna have to fight, So I just wanted to make sure I'm looking out the door just in case it is someone, they don't got nothing. But anyway, so I'm opening up this door. Next thing you know, I see nothing but smoke. And then I see flames shooting. I'm like, what the hell going on? So then I open up the door wider. Then it was just this ball of flames. So the young lady I was with, I got her out the bed and took her into the room. The room was catty corner from the room I was in. So we went in there. I shut the door, and it was her sister. And her sister had a young child at the time. And I don't think she was two. No, I don't think she was 2 years old. So anyway, they were in the bed asleep or whatever. So I opened up the window, to get everybody out. So when I opened up the window, I got the baby out first. Then I got the girl I was dating out first. But by then, that room was so overcome with smoke, I could barely breathe. I couldn't breathe. I don't even know how I made it out because of the oxygen from there just made that whole room fill up with smoke. Um, I don't, like I said, I felt myself getting dizzy. I felt really lightheaded. But I told myself it was something about it. The inner me said, "You're not going out like this. You have to fight it." So I'm on my knees because I remember in school they said always drop low. So when I got drop low, I'm on my knees and I'm feeling on top of the bed, like I'm on the ground, and I felt her ankle or whatever, some part of her leg. So I grabbed it and I pulled her, and I pulled her off the bed. And it's when I pulled her up off the bed, I don't know where, to this day, I don't know where I got that strength from. I got her to the window. And when I got her to the window, I got half her body out the window. and they, the girl that I was, dating at the time, she grabbed her and pulled her all the way out. And the only thing I could do is just dive out afterwards,
Yeah.
So I got out of that. The house was completely burnt down. I went to the hospital, got smoke inhalation. It seemed like that stuff lasted more than 2 weeks because I was coughing up all kind of soot and everything. I thought, maybe I need to go back because something might be wrong. But anyway, about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, the detectives come knocking on my door and they said they had a warrant out for my arrest and they locked me up, put me in jail, and they told me I was
Wow.
being arrested for aggravated arson. I was like, I don't even know what that is, you know. So that's what happened, man. And went to trial, lost, got sentenced to 3 years in prison. I only did 18 months, and like to this, I I, I never forget the day they found me guilty, and I couldn't believe it because I didn't think that could ever happen to me. Went in the room where they hold you at until they transport you back to the county jail. They put you in a little hold tank. I went in there and I was by myself. First thing I did was I dropped to my knees and I just prayed and I told God, I said, God, I didn't do this. I know I didn't do this. I didn't do this, but whatever the reason why I'm here, you know, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, to get right, because I felt like I was being punished for my drinking, because all the things I did while I was drinking, like there was a lot of things I was doing while I was drinking that I probably got away with, so I felt like, well, maybe this is my punishment. So like I said, well, I never thought it'd go to this extent where I'm getting my freedom taken, you know, and I thought I was going to do the whole 3 years. I didn't know, that was heavy for me at the time. So I knew I couldn't drink. So I asked God to just give me strength to make it through it, and whatever it is you need me to do, I'll do it. And I did those 18 months, got out and started drinking again. This
Well,
time even worse.
that's that's usually how it goes, Gerald, because I remember many times that my wife got released from jail, not prison, but jail,
Mm-hmm.
came home and said, God visited me and I'm done. And not every time, but there were quite a few times where she was drunk within 48 hours,
Yeah.
and it's like, what happened to God visiting you? I mean, where did this go? I mean, even the last time that she was thrown in jail, she said that God came and visited her, and I'm just basically ignoring her in a way, going, yeah, I've heard this I don't know how many times. She goes, but this time he told me this is your last chance.
Wow.
And I go back now and I relive what happened after that because she started drinking that very same day
Mm-hmm.
and she went on a binge. And literally, when I looked in her eyes, that's all I saw was death. And I thought, my gosh, yeah. I mean, maybe he did come and say this time, and it's true. I think he gave her that shot over the bow and said, this is your last warning. Because when I dropped her off at detox, I was so upset with her. This tells you how bad I even got as a husband, is not giving a rat's butt.
Yeah.
I didn't even take her into the emergency room. I got her out of the frickin' car, grabbed her bag, threw it out on the lawn, and she couldn't even stand. She was on all fours, and I just said, "Good luck." And
Wow.
when I drove off, looking at her in the rearview mirror, I broke down and started just bawling my eyes out, thinking,
Wow.
this is the last time I'm going to see her alive, and it's in my rearview mirror with her on all fours, so drunk she can't stand up.
Wow.
And luckily, it didn't happen. And luckily, that was the start of her journey. Right now, she's 32 months sober, and now she's a certified peer support specialist, helping others in their recovery journey. And
That's great.
Yeah.
That is great, man. I love hearing stories like that, because that's basically the mission I'm on right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just telling my story or making Facebook posts or whatever, and I love hearing stories like that, though.
So let's go back to where you get out of prison, you start drinking again. How much longer did that go before, I like to use the term, and I got this from one of our guests, where you finally dropped the shovel and said, you know what? I'm sick and tired of digging this hole deeper and deeper. It's time to start filling this damn thing full of dirt and get my way out.
Right. Well, I was released in 1999. Like I said, 18 months was September 97. But yeah, I was released in 1999, April of 1999. The first day I got out, there was a party. I started drinking then. Like I picked up right where I left off at, sloppy drunk, not knowing I'm sloppy drunk, making bad decisions. Then it took off from there. So all through those years, all the way up to 2009, I tried to stop drinking again. I said, you know what, it's time for me to stop drinking. This was in February of 2009. I don't know what it is about February, but anyway, it's February of 2009. I said, all right, I'm done drinking. So I quit for like maybe 3 weeks. I said I could drink wine. So I was just on this wine kick. I wasn't drinking no beer or alcohol. I was just drinking wine. So I drink wine. So May of 2009, my nephew was killed. And that was the son of my sister who was murdered back in 1980.
Oh, geez.
So it was like, you know how it is when I'm the uncle, but I'm the brother. I'm the big brother because my mom, basically had to raise him. So now I become the
Right.
big brother. So I taught this young man, his name was Monray. I taught him a lot, growing up, I taught him how to fight, I taught him the ways of the streets, I taught him some things and some things he learned on his own. But Monray, he would always come and get me whenever he would get into a scuffle or a fight, just like a little brother would do for a big brother. To a big brother, I'm gonna go get my brother. And that's what he used to do. And I was always there for him. I was always there. I would always show up and fight if it was somebody older. If it was somebody his age, no, you're gonna sit here and you're gonna fight him because you're not going out like no punk. I used to tell him that all the time. You're not going out like no punk. So the day he was murdered in May, he was just released from prison. Wasn't out a whole week. I hadn't got a chance to see him physically, but I talked to him via phone. So he called me and asked me to come to a strip bar he was at, him and his cousins and friends. And I told him, well, I'm at work right now. I might stop by there after I get off. Uh, I'll see. But I'm thinking, okay, I really don't need to. I'm trying to quit drinking. I really don't, because I'll go to that strip bar and I'm with him and his friends. I already know what I'm gonna do. you know. So I didn't go. I went home. I took a shower and I started watching the NBA finals. Um, I got a phone call from one of my cousins and he asked me what I was doing. I said, man, I just got off work, man. I'm just sitting here watching the game, chilling, man. I ain't doing nothing. He was like, well, my Ray just got killed. And he said it just like that. He's like, my Ray just got killed. I said, what? He's like, my Ray got killed. And he hung up the phone. So I'm thinking, nah, man, this ain't true. I don't believe this. So I called him back. I said, man, what's up, man? Where you at? He's like, man, I'm up here, man. You know what I'm saying? My Ray is dead, man. He's like, this ain't no joke. So I knew it was real then because of his voice. So I'm like, where y'all at? And he was like, we at the spot. It was this place called the Spot. At the time, that was the name of it. So I get in my car, I grab my pistol, I grab a baseball bat. I get in my car and I drive up to the spot, to the strip bar. By the time I get there, they had already taken the body away. I didn't know, he was. But anyway, I'm driving up there radically crazy, because I'm mad, angry. I get out with my bat. I left my pistol on the seat, in the front seat, passenger side, wide open. I didn't care. I go up to the bar. The police, they got the yellow tape. They're standing around. I go to police come, hey, what you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, that's my nephew. I said, what's up? Where he at? Me and the police are having a conversation. Like, we're actually arguing. I'm telling him to mind his business and let me know where my nephew is. And I told him that in so many words, though. I told him I didn't care what y'all do. Let me at my nephew. Let me get to my nephew. And they was like, well, he's not here. Luckily, that cop, I wish I knew his name because I want to thank him to this day. That cop didn't arrest me. He had every right to. He let me go back to my car, which was a loaded gun on the passenger seat. They didn't go to my car. I'm talking crazy because I'm not thinking right.
Right.
I just want to get to the person that did this to my nephew, or I just want to get to my nephew to see if he's okay. So I'm going crazy. And as ignorant and as crazy as I was acting, that one cop calmed me down and told me, he was like, look, you need to calm down or you're going to jail because your nephew's in the hospital right now. And I was like, is what hospital? He's like, he's at Altman. And I was like, oh, so he okay? He was like, just go to Altman. So now I'm thinking, he's all right then. Maybe he's not dead. Maybe they just got it wrong. So the cop actually let me walk back to my car with this baseball bat in my hand. I get back to the car. I drive to the hospital. A lot of people are outside. Nobody's saying anything to me though. And I'm asking them, where's Monterey at? Nobody said nothing. Nobody is saying anything to me. They just looking at me. I'm like, so I just walk in, bust in the door, and I'm go to the reception. I'm like, hey, I'm here for Monterey Jones. The lady at the desk, she pages a nurse. The nurse comes up, and I was like, look, I'm here for Monterey Jones. And then she was like, okay, well, yeah, he's back here. So now I'm really thinking he's still alive. So go there, and next, they take me in a room, and he's laid out. No life, dead. I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. That did something to me. My heart is messed up. My head is messed up. I'm going through all these emotions. I don't know why I was thinking, but I said, I got to have a shot. So as I'm going, leaving that room, I stayed in there for about a good 2 hours. I don't know how long. But as I get out, I'm walking out the room, and I see his girlfriend at the time. He had just had a baby with. And she was crying and sobbing, and she told him, she's like, I kept telling him to come on. I kept telling him to come on, but he wouldn't come. And I was like, man, I wish you listened. He's like, the last thing he said to me was because she was trying to get him in the car to go home. She's like, he said he wasn't going out like no punk. Those was what the words I taught him as a young kid.
Wow.
That really did something to me, because now I feel like, now that's my fault. First, it was my fault because my sister got killed because I shouldn't have never babysitted it. Now my nephew he's got murdered. He's, from what I taught him, and maybe he would have left, So I'm going through all this stuff, man. So I go to the bar, me and my other nephew, his oldest brother. We go to the bar, and I just got drunk. I was a mess, and ever since then, my drinking just got worse. That was a bad year for me. I had a cousin that was a heavy drinker. He ended up killing himself in July, 2 months later. And then it was just a really rough year. So my drinking got worse and worse and worse. The DUIs, 2 back to back, within 11 months of each other. The losses, the failed relationships, the loss of cars, the loss of jobs, I lost the relationships with people that genuinely cared about me. I felt like no one cared, so why should I?
Yeah.
So I went through a period of nothing but loss after that. So I was just losing, but I still didn't feel like a loser. I was just losing so much, losing people, losing relationships, losing jobs, losing money, losing cars. I'm just losing everything,
And really, in all reality, even though you didn't feel like a loser, right? You were losing yourself. You was
Yes.
losing yourself, right? Not
Yeah.
realizing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Hit that right on the head.
Hmm.
Losing myself. And that was in 2009. I didn't quit drinking till 2013. Now, by then, I didn't lost so much. I started losing my mental capacity, but I didn't know it because I'm going to tell everybody out there, alcohol will give you mental illness. You will
Right.
suffer from mental illness with long-term alcohol abuse. You don't even know you do, but you do. You
Yeah.
think everything is normal. When I hear people say they were a functioning alcoholic because, yeah, I still became successful in this and that, I don't believe that because you were able to function, but you wasn't able to function at your full potential. So imagine what you could have been then if you would have just
Yeah.
never, there's no telling. So I don't like that functioning alcoholic, just because I went to work everything, but I wasn't functioning at my full potential because if that was the case, I'd have been president of the company,
Yeah.
CEO of the
That's a
company.
really good point, Gerald. That is a really good point. I never looked at it that way. And uh I just accepted that term, right? And heard people tell their story. You were so flipping right because our head is still foggy. I mean,
Yes.
yeah. However, we're able to function, we're able to do what we need to do. The hell, we could be so much better, right? If our head was clear. Just think of the ideas that could pop in, or how much further we could take our ability, or what we would be learning on the way, right? Instead, we just kind of stay stagnant. We stay on just that one path because it's comfortable and we're doing what we need to do to get by with what we need to get by with. We're not veering one way or another.
Right. we're content,
Content.
basically.
Yeah.
We're very
Yeah.
content. And then once we get so content, we start getting, and I like to use this word because it deals with my occupation, complacent. We get complacent with our lives. We get
Yeah.
complacent with our lives and we don't even know it because we
Yeah.
think it's normal. We think it's normal. And that's where the mental illness really has a stronghold on us because we don't know that this is what we're suffering from until you see normal.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell you, I like to put it with it. You heard me say earlier, we look at life through a straw, right? If
Yeah.
you ever get a chance, get a straw and look through it, and you don't see very much. You see what's ahead of you, but nothing really off to the sides. When you start taking a razor blade or a knife and you start putting splits in that straw and you start pulling that straw apart, all this cool stuff starts emerging in front of you. And now you really start looking at life. And I believe with what you said at the beginning of the show, the effects alcohol has on you in the negative way. And it's almost half-assed, but also in a positive way, right? Because I've asked guests, are you grateful that you were an addict? And I asked that question to a few of them because I heard someone get up in an AA meeting and say that once, that he thanks God every day for making him an alcoholic. And I leaned over and looked at my wife and I said, that guy's got his, basically that guy's effing nuts. That's what I told her. However, I understand what he means by it now, right?
Right. Right.
I get it now, and it's been through also the help of people like yourself, the guests that individuals, I should say, like yourself, to help me understand more. Because it sounds like for you now, you dug a pretty deep pit. You had a lot of pain, a lot of resentment, you had a lot of guilt, you had a lot of, I mean, you had so many emotions wrapped up in you. Also, the fact that you know you could have been a professional boxer more than likely,
Oh
but
yeah.
life robbed you from that. They just not robbed people that you loved. They also robbed what you felt like your destiny was,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep.
you lost so much, you burned so many freaking bridges, but one day you woke up and something told you enough's enough, and now you see where your life's at now, right? I mean,
Yeah.
10 and a half years sober, that's no spit in a bucket, man. That is some hard work,
Yes.
especially
Yeah.
with alcohol.
Yeah. Big time. And like, just to piggyback off what you said, when I woke up, when I realized that, hey, the day I realized I never forget, that comes with the story. I was at a bar drinking everything from beer to tequila to gin to vodka to what do they call them? Jaeger bombs
Oh
to
yeah.
I had about 10 of them. I think to I don't know, beer, like I said, shots of tequila back to back. Oh my God, I was so I know I was drunk, but I wasn't drunk. I was still able to drive. I
Huh.
drove to my mom's house. I made it there. I was still coherent enough to have motor functions. So I get to my mom's house. This is February the 5th. I don't know what it is about that month of February, but February the 5th, I get to my mom's house. It's maybe about 11:30 at night. Bar. I'm leaving the bar. But my oldest brother is over there. Him and my mom are arguing. But I'm walking up, getting out the car, and I walk up to the door, and I can hear it. I can hear the argument, and I can hear how he was talking to my mom. Now, with everything that I've been through in my life, I'm a very protective person, and I'm gonna definitely be protective of my mom. You're not gonna talk to my mom any kind of way. This is what I told my oldest brother. Like, look, I don't ever want to hear you talk to mom like that. Don't you ever, I bet I never hear you, you know. Now, I'm a trained boxer since I was 7 years old. My brother's he's 10 years older than me. At that time, 10 years ago, I was 45. He was 55. The age I am now, huh? That's crazy. So anyway, we get into an argument. We go back and forth. I tell him like, okay, we can handle this. But my mom is telling us to take it away from the house because she's gonna call the police. Don't bring that stuff over here. I'm like, okay, let's go down to the park. He gets in the car, my car, and I'm drunk. And we get down to the park. Now it's February, so it's winter, middle of winter.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't have a coat on. I didn't have a coat on, but it was my car. We go down to this park called Riverside. We get in a fight, and I left him there unconscious. I left him after I beat him up. I left him after I knocked him out. I left him unconscious in the cold. It wasn't that cold that night, but it was cold enough. So didn't nobody hear from me. I guess the next day, I I went back that morning, but he wasn't there. So I don't know what happened. But anyway, that's when I realized I could have killed him. I could have killed my brother all because I was drunk. So I told my mom what happened, and I told her I had a problem. And she asked me what was I going to do about it. I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know. I said, I don't even think is there anything I can do about it? And that's when she told me there's something you can do about it. You can get help. Get help. Like, really? Who gets help? That's you know, this is my thinking then, because I didn't know any better. Like, who gets help? You know, I live in a small community. I got, you know, I'm kind of popular. Where am I gonna get? Where can I go get help at without somebody me or seeing me? You know, she's calling around different places, and she finally called this place called the Crisis Center. Now, the Crisis Center is a place known for people with severe mental health issues or mental health issues. They go to get help, you know, but they also had a dry out facility there. So we went there. I had to go there to get assessed. My mom had me call them, and I told them, you know, I just need help. You know, I didn't want to. I'm like, man, I ain't about to go down here. Ain't nobody about to see my car parked down here, and I'm gonna be the laughing stock of the community. I ain't doing that. But my mom told me, what you tell me? I'm trying to help you. So you're gonna go. And I was like, well, you know what? All right, let's go. So I go down there. All the while I'm thinking like, man, I'm about to leave, because when you get assessed, they sit you in the waiting room and you'll wait there for about 2 hours before they assess you, just so they can see where your head is. I think it's a game they play to
Yeah.
see if you really want help.
Yeah.
So
It's done for a reason.
yeah, so I'm like, man, I'm about to go. So I'm telling my mom, I was like, let's go. I'll just come back. She's like, no, just wait. She's like, you got anywhere to be? I was like, no, really, I don't. So I waited and I got assessed. You know, I told the lady that, you know, gave me my assessment, everything, basically everything I'm telling you now up to this point, you know. And she's like, yeah, you got a problem. I was like, yeah, I kind of figured that.
Yeah. Right.
So she was like, well, I got two options for you. I was like, well, what's that? She was like, well, unfortunately, every time I used to hear the word unfortunately, I think, damn, what could go wrong here? What bad news can you tell me here? Like I'm about to die or something?
Right.
Like I'm about to, one more drink is gonna kill me. So I'm thinking that, right? So she told me, unfortunately, we don't have any dry out beds for alcohol. She said, but we do have a bed in the mental, it's the mental health side. She's like, that's the only bed we have left. She said, either you can take that bed or you can go and come back. She said, I'll let you think about it for a minute. And it was a minute, because I thought, as soon as she said leave and come back, I'm like, man, if I leave here, I ain't never coming back. I already knew that. So I'm not, if I leave, I'm not never going to come back. And I was like, well, telling myself, like, what could be so bad in the mental health side? So I said, yeah, just give me the mental health bed. Like, all right. She said, get your affairs in order, you know, and you know, not allowed to have anything. You know, no belt, no wallet, no cell phone, no nothing. This was 2013.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So I had to strip myself of everything, you know, call somebody to come pick my mom up. But then I thought about my job. I was like, oh man, I gotta leave. I said, I gotta leave. I said, but I'm gonna come back. I gotta go to my job and let them know that I won't be at work, you know, because I don't want to lose my job. So I went to my job, dropped my mom off, went to my job, told my boss at the time that I'm going to need some time off because I have a problem and I'm getting help. I said, you know, and that was probably the hardest thing for me to do, because I was a good worker at my job, you know, but I wasn't reaching my full potential. But anyway, when I told my boss everything that I was doing, he just told me he was proud of me, shook my hand and told me, if there's anything I need, reach out to him. His name was Tim Myers. I got to mention Tim Myers in this, because he was very, very instrumental.
Good for him. That's awesome that he was supportive.
Yeah, because if it wasn't for him saying that, I probably would have never went back.
Yeah.
He guaranteed my job would still be there. Take as long as you need. So if it wasn't for him saying, I probably would have never went back. That's just the honest God's truth. So I went back to the crisis center, and I I was put in this room, I was in a gown, put in this 6x6 cell. Like it felt like jail. It wasn't, it was just a room with a bed with a taller than a sink and a glass window with a door with no handle on the inside. So as I'm there, that first night, I get some rest. I wake up that Friday morning and I'm looking out this window and I'm seeing all these mental health patients. When I say mental health patients, I mean mental gone. I mean, just, you had all kinds of people in there, people that talk to themselves. You had schizophrenics. You had everything. So I'm looking out this window and I'm looking, and something came over me. It's like, you keep drinking, that's gonna be you. That did something to me. I'm like, oh man, do I really want to be that way? But little did I know I was already that way. Just didn't know it. I was just as schizophrenic and crazy as them. I mean, from the decisions that I was making in life, you would have thought I was crazy, you know? So I think it hit home. That hit home. That hit home. And ever since that, I'm gonna call it a conversation with God. I never looked back.
Wow.
Never looked back.
Good.
Never looked.
Good for you, Gerald. I mean, again, this is another part of why I love doing this. You know, the stories are the same, but the journeys are all different.
Yeah.
And everyone's beginning in sobriety or cleanliness or however you want to look at it starts off in different ways too. And however, one thing that is the same is there's a higher power, something there to help them along the way, right? Because
Right.
we all need help. We can, and we already know we can't do it alone. I messed my life up enough as it was doing it my way, right?
Right.
And so have so many of us. And when you finally drop the shovel or drop the torch and quit, burying or lighting everything on fire that you touch and just let life go, it's amazing where things will take you. And we still make bad choices. That's part of being human.
Yeah.
However, for me, and I think for a lot of our guests, they can recover from it a lot quicker. It doesn't take them, they don't jump back down in that pit, right? They allow themselves to feel their emotions, and then they're like, you know what? Okay, I got this now. I know where I
Right.
need to go. And they start going off in the right direction. And that's where the blessings come from all this, right? Because you look at life totally different now, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing to you right now because of what you've seen and what you have gone through and what you've overcome. Because that's not easy.
Right.
I could say it is, but I've not stepped in your shoes. I'd be BSing myself if I said, Gerald, I know what you're going through, because I don't.
Exactly.
You do, and you've done it.
Yeah. And you know what the most amazing thing about it is the change of perception. And that's the most amazing thing you can experience, because I went from believing no one cared to how could they care, why would they care, to being showed that they do care, they will care, and if you give me the opportunity, I can show you that I care.
Yeah.
This is what I'm getting from you in this platform. You care. There was a time in my life where I would have thought, this white guy don't know me. He don't care nothing about me.
Yeah,
He don't
right.
care nothing about me, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that ain't the feeling that I get here.
Well, it's because when we're under the thumb of an addiction, doesn't matter what kind of addiction it is.
Right.
We love to self-sabotage things, right? Because again, we feel like no one gives a crap anyway.
Right.
So we might as well just push him out the door a little bit quicker.
Right.
And I mean, my wife did that with our relationship. She's like, well, he's going to leave me like all the other guys did. So I might as well just help him out the door. And I kept scratching my head going, this doesn't make sense. Why are you doing this? I don't get it. And again, it's how she felt about herself. She felt worthless, that no one cared, just like what you said, that no
Yep.
one gave a crap because everyone's left her anyway, or they beat her, or they verbally abused her, or they teased her. So this guy doesn't care. I'm not even going to really give him a chance because he's just like the rest. So I'll push him out the door. And it's crazy where our minds will take us, and our ego, right? Our ego, I mean, my
Yeah.
gosh, you said it earlier, right before you went into the journey of you going into the community place, right?
Yeah.
That you're like, oh hell no, no one's going to see my car parked out here. That's not Gerald talking. That's your ego talking, right?
Yep.
Because I'm well known in the community, and no one's going to know anything about me doing
Yep.
this.
Yeah.
And
It,
and all we're doing is shooting ourselves in the foot when we
that's
do.
it. Um, I don't understand. I mean, I guess, getting the taboo. I mean, it's just like, why is getting help such a taboo in small communities and underserved communities and big communities and in the business world? It's just so taboo, like for somebody to ask for help. Like it's just I
Especially
understand it
for a
now.
man. Especially for a man, right?
Yeah, especially for a man,
Yeah.
especially a man that's being looked upon as somebody, or you know, this guy seems to have it all together, but really don't.
Yeah.
When you start peeling away the layers of that facade, now you see that inner person, you see that inner man. But the only way you can start peeling away those layers, unless that inner man, that man allows you to, you know. And
Yeah.
that's one thing we, as men, we're not, we're not. I don't think it's in us to really allow people to peel away at us. That's something we have to allow people. We're not people. You're not going to just do it. You know. Sometimes we just have to give ourselves permission. Give ourselves permission. That's all it takes. Just give
Yeah.
ourselves permission.
Well, and know who we are as individuals, right? It's that self-love, right? I used to go to a men's group. I think it's probably about 2.5, 3 years ago. Great bunch of guys that came into this men's group. Somebody that I know started it. Few of the guys came in. I know, from all my years of networking and different things, new people that I've never met before. And it's amazing. I'm in this room and I'm with men who are very, very successful businessmen,
Mm,
have lots of money, other people who are so like myself, other people who very, very religious, some that's not. I mean, we're talking all backgrounds,
yeah,
and we're talking manly men, right? You,
yeah,
you see them, and I mean, you're looking at him, you're going, oh yeah, man, this guy's a man for sure.
right.
I have never been in a freaking room, Gerald, with so many men breaking down and bawling, me
Oh man,
included, me included, right? Because nothing against our parents, because they raised us the way they were raised, right? They're just doing what they thought was right, because no one gives us a handbook on how to be the best parent ever, right? We
right.
figure it out as we go, right? It's trial and error. And I was taught, at least, you don't cry, right? Because I don't know how many times I heard this, and I've shared this on the show many times. You stop your crying, or I will give you something to cry about. Well, apparently, I already have something to cry about. That's what I'm crying for. but you
Right.
don't want me to cry, so I'm not allowed to feel my feelings. So as we grow up, we start holding all this in, right? You lose a sister. You have to be tough. You got to hold this in. You're mourning the loss of someone that you love dearly, that's your sibling, your nephew, you know, and society has got it to where we're not allowed to show our emotions. And we talked about this in our show earlier. God has given us all these emotions for a reason. And it's for us to go through these emotions, because when we go through the emotions, we appreciate the other emotions, right? I mean, if I'm feeling sad, I can't wait to feel happy because it feels a hell of a lot better than being sad. But however, there's nothing wrong with feeling sad.
Right.
It's part of our learning process, and it's a journey because something positive comes out of it. Look at all the crap you've gone through, Gerald. I couldn't imagine not not even this much of going through what you've gone through and coming out on top like you've come out on top. I just couldn't imagine it, right? You you figured out through all your trial and errors and all the negative in your life, and you've changed it to a positive. Like my friend Curtis Marsh says, you've taken the frickin' rocks or the coal that's been in your backpack for years, and you've turned every single one of them into a gold nugget because you
Wow.
chose to do it. You chose to get rid of that crap and carrying around all the nastiness and the extra weight, even though it's gold. But hell, I'd rather carry gold than a box of coal or a backpack of rocks, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have some bounce in my step.
Right. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, gosh, we have gone over an hour already. It's so hard to
Oh
believe
man.
this time flies so
Wow.
much. And I know I think you're 2 hours ahead. So I need you to let you get to your evening and relax. Before we go, what would be your main message to our listeners?
My main message is this. If you're suffering from alcohol abuse, any kind of abuse, any kind of addiction, get help. There's nothing wrong with getting help. Over the years, if you don't get help, what's happening over the years is you start calcifying your emotions, you know. So once you start calcifying your emotions, you forget how to feel because you don't want to. Get help. Give yourself permission to feel again, and it'll change your life. It'll change your life.
I love
And
it.
I'm
That's
living to
that's a hell of a
change your
message.
life.
Is there anything else you want to touch on? I mean, did you have the opportunity to say what you wanted to say?
Al, yes, I did, man. And I just want to thank you again, man. This is this meant a lot to me just to have this conversation with you. I've been watching a lot of your videos, man, and you really make a difference, man. And
Thank you.
you're really you're really on to something. And I just, as you continue to grow and your blessings are there, man. I mean, I appreciate you. I really do. Uh, and I just want to thank you again for the opportunity. I want to thank Nicole for introducing us. Um, I think when we first met, we were talking about it, what how recovery can make the best of friends or something to that,
Yep,
But yeah, man, I just, like I said, I just want to let you know, man, I appreciate you, man, and thank you. Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you for your kind words. I mean, Gerald, seriously, and I accept your kind words, and I'm very grateful for them. And I want to just say thank you to you too, because it's not easy for our listeners to come on a show and be vulnerable and share a part of their life that they're not proud of, right? And talk about things that they're not proud of doing. However, it's not who they are today. That's that's something in the past, right? That's
Right.
something. And I've asked some people, "Hey, would you come on?" And they're like, "Nope, I don't want to relive it." That's cool. I respect that, right? That's their journey. It's not for me to dig that out of them.
Right.
And other people like yourself, other individuals who want to come on and use their voice and share their story, because the people who don't want to come on, they're still out there helping other individuals. They're
Right.
doing it in their way, right?
Right.
And I the individuals like yourself, the guests that come on the show, you guys are the ones that are making this successful. It's not me, right? I just have a platform. And really, I'll say it's God, because God is bringing all my guests to me. You know,
Okay.
he's the one that's making it possible. I got to put that first, because he's the one where I get to connect with so many amazing individuals like yourself. Because if God didn't direct Nicole to meet you, I would have never met you, right? I mean, and it just keeps going, right? And when you start living your life with a purpose, like you are and so many of our other guests, God starts putting the right people in your life, and they come from all directions.
Yes, sir. I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tell you, man, like I said, just one more thing. I got to get this off my chest. I've been wanting to say this. When you suffer from alcoholism, what you're doing is you're playing a lottery with your life. One day you're going to hit, but it's not going to be in a way where you want to hit. You're going to hit rock bottom. So if you keep playing the lottery with your life, that's what's going to happen. When you hit rock bottom, there's only one way, and that's up. So I will tell anybody, get the help. If you feel you have a problem, if people telling you have a problem, go get help. Ain't nothing wrong with getting help. Nothing. It can change your whole life. It can change your
Yeah.
whole life. It changed mine. It definitely changed mine. People don't believe I'm 55 years old with all the stuff I went
Yeah, right. Well, you're lucky to be
through.
55 with all the crap you've gone through,
Yeah,
right?
they look at me
Yeah.
like there's no way. I'm like, yeah, it's a way. And that way was God, you know. God preserved me for a reason. So
Yeah. Well, you're now one of his angels, buddy, out there spreading the word, helping others.
yeah,
So
thank
thank
you.
you.
Man. Thank you.
And thank you for getting that out. Thank you for sharing that. Well, guys, my gosh, what an awesome show, man. It was an absolute pleasure having you on the show, Gerald. And again, thank you, Nicole, and thank you to all our listeners, all our guest co-hosts when we have them, all our amazing sponsors, everyone that just believes in what we're doing here and just wants to help and helping us spread the word, right? We are continuing to grow. I get on YouTube quite a bit, just to get our shows going and different things. And I haven't really looked at how many subscribers that we've had. And today I actually pulled it up and looked, and we've now gone over the 400 mark. We were like at 407. I was like, oh my gosh, that's, to me, that's like a milestone, right? My goal is to hit 1,000. However, it's like we're almost halfway there, and we've only been doing this since gosh, this past March was our 2 years. So we're just coming up on 2.5 years. And I'm very blessed and I'm very grateful, because again, it's all our guests out there and our sponsors and people that believe in what we're doing that's helping this grow. So Gerald, again, thank you. Thank you to all our listeners, to everyone. And guys, remember this: addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.